Hello, my name is Darren Caul. I'm the Community Coordinator for Alberta with the National Crime Prevention Centre. I've been asked by the deaf community to present to you tonight about the National Strategy on Community Safety and Crime Prevention. In addition to that, I'm going to talk more about the Community Mobilization Program, crime in Canada, and the criminal justice system. First, let's talk briefly about the Canadian history of crime in Canada. In the early 1990s, the federal government wanted to take a look at what was going on nationally and internationally about crime and crime prevention. And in 1994, the National Crime Prevention Council was established, comprised of 25 individuals from across Canada, including chiefs of police, social workers, teachers, youth outreach workers, and so forth. They spent the next 5 years researching and talking to Canadians about what's going on. And they took a look at the economics of crime. Interestingly, they produced a lot of documents that included the following numbers. The cost of crime in Canada is estimated to be about $10 billion. And what percentage of that do you think is spent responding to crime? It's probably higher than you think. About 99.0% of the $10 billion budget in the criminal justice system is spent reacting to crime. And that's predominantly police, courts, and corrections. When we factor in the other social costs of crime in Canada, education costs, other social costs, insurance and the like, the cost becomes more around $46 billion a year. Incarceration is one of our greatest costs in Canada and in the criminal justice system. We spend probably more than you'd think as well on incarceration, about $100,000 a year per offender per year. Interestingly, it costs more to incarcerate a single offender for a single year than it does to put a person through a 4-year university degree. There are numerous ways of approaching crime prevention. There's the more conventional crime prevention that we all grew up with, that we're accustomed to. We've acquired that knowledge from our local police. Well, it's best described like this. There's a commercial out of British Columbia, which is where I'm from, and it's done by the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia. It has an offender walking by, and I set the scene for you here. It's late at night, there's a row of beautiful cars, the lighting is dim, and there's a prospective offender pulling on door handles and saying, "She loves me not. She loves me not. She loves me," as the door opens. The owner of that car is going to come out tomorrow and see a vacant spot. As a result of not locking his car door, he's going to be the victim of a crime tonight. Conventional crime prevention is about reducing the opportunity for crime. It's about locking our car doors, not leaving that shiny DVD player in the front seat. It's about locking our houses, getting to know our neighbors. Let me put it in another way. If you live in a cul-de-sac and one day you come home and your house has been broken into, and you start chatting with the neighbors and you learn that a variety of homes have been broken into. And so you call in the police, and we introduce a lot of, again, conventional crime prevention measures that we've grown up with. We start locking our doors. We trim back our bushes so that we can see out our windows, and we get to know our neighbors so that we know who's supposed to be in the cul-de-sac and who isn't supposed to be. We also put up signs that say we're now a block watch or neighborhood watch community. That's integral to crime prevention. It's critical, but there's a shortcoming to it. What's the shortcoming, you ask? It doesn't address why it is an individual is out looking to commit crime in the first place. The next time that individual comes to break into your home or into your neighbor's home in your cul-de-sac, what is he or she going to do? They're going to go to the next neighborhood. So have we really prevented a crime? Don't get me wrong. Conventional opportunity reduction crime prevention is absolutely essential. It's integral. It's necessary. But is it sufficient? Crime prevention through social development is the other piece of the puzzle. It's about addressing the underlying root causes of crime. What are those underlying causes? Well, when we ask Canadians, a lot will say boredom. A lot will say single parents, for example. In fact, both of those aren't true, because Well, boredom, for example, very popular one. People say that if we provide more recreational opportunities for young people, there'll be less crime. But in fact, is that the case? You can go to a community that has truly lots to do and go to a community that truly has nothing to do, the haves and the have-not communities. And you'll find that about the same percentage of young people in this case choose to engage in crime. So what distinguishes this group from this group? We got to look deeper. So we start asking why. And then we start to target what the underlying causes are. We'll find that the 10 or so percentage that engage in crime in that community come perhaps from homes where there's neglect, substance abuse, family violence, poverty. Maybe there's literacy issues. There's a whole host of underlying factors that we know put a young person at risk for engaging in crime. And it starts prenatal. Fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal alcohol effect, depending on who you talk to within our incarceration system, is rampant. Some say 30%, some say as much as 75% of those incarcerated have fetal alcohol syndrome or fetal alcohol effect, a disease or a syndrome that is 100% preventable. So, if we want to address the underlying root causes of crime, we need to look deeper. The National Strategy on Community Safety and Crime Prevention was announced in 1998. The council that I talked about became the National Crime Prevention Center. And with that, the Department of Justice and the Solicitor General announced a $32 million annual commitment. That commitment is broken down into 4 funding programs. 3 of them national in scope, called the Crime Prevention Investment Fund, Crime Prevention Partnership Program, and the Business Action Plan program. Those 3 programs, typically for national organizations that are looking to demonstrate projects and to create resources that don't exist anywhere else in Canada, to promote business participation in crime prevention in an unconventional way, more than just writing checks, but in creative ways. Those 3 programs are to advance the state of knowledge of crime prevention in this country. The idea being that if we pilot projects and we evaluate them rigorously, and should they be determined to be effective, we can replicate them nationally, and so that we can take a more methodical approach to crime prevention. Our flagship program is the Community Mobilization Program. That's the initiative I'm responsible for Alberta. I said in my introduction that I'm the Community Coordinator for Alberta. That's a long title. Really, I'm your line-level resource person to assist you in accessing funds. The Community Mobilization Program has $17 million attached to it nationally. In Alberta, that translates to $1.5 million. Organizations can access funding up to $50,000, and an organization can get that funding up to 3 times for a particular project. What kinds of projects do we fund? Projects that promote broad-based partnerships in communities. All right, what's that mean? Well, when I used to attend crime prevention conferences or meetings years ago, it was just the police and the school board if it was a youth-related issue, or if it was just the Chamber of Commerce and the police, if it had to do with businesses or crime or robbery prevention, for example. But more and more we're seeing, and increasingly, we're seeing a range of organizations come to the table and see themselves as crime prevention practitioners, outreach workers, educators, social workers, really any organization that works with people, the population. I like to say sometimes that anybody who breathes is a stakeholder in community safety and health. And so really any nonprofit organization or any institution that works with breathing people has a stake in crime prevention. And so now we see a range at the table. But what used to happen, as I said, one organization, see, we're all trying to get to the same oasis of a safe and healthy community. And yet far too often we're taking different routes to get there. In a former life, as it were, I used to be a corrections officer and worked with incredibly high-risk young people. And I used to chuckle at how one young person could have 3 outreach workers and 5 social workers and 2 anger management workers and a family counselor and so on. They used to trade them like hockey cards. There's a school, I'm told, here in Calgary that has an estimated 75 organizations working within it. Imagine the power if all those organizations work together. There's a dynamic interplay of factors that occurs before anybody engages in crime. You can't isolate it. You can't put it in a vacuum and say it's just literacy, it's just poverty, it's just fetal alcohol syndrome. It's a combination of factors. And so we need a dynamic interplay, a comprehensive and dynamic approach to responding to crime. And only a range of partners can give you that. One of the other objectives of our national strategy is to promote awareness and education about crime prevention. And so for a lot of people, that's about shifting thinking and understanding that crime prevention isn't just locking our doors and putting clubs on our corridors. It's certainly that. But it's also this deeper point about root causes of crime. The third point is about building community capacity. And what's that? It's about building on skills, knowledge, and resources in communities so that the masses, that living, breathing people and nonprofit organizations and everybody can engage in crime prevention. That's why we're called the Community Mobilization Program. Again, it's necessary for the systems, the institutions, the professionals, and the experts to be involved in the solution, but it is also not sufficient. Everybody who breathes is a stakeholder in crime prevention. And through funding through the Community Mobilization Program, we're supporting the mobilization of the masses, the empowerment of the institutions and the systems through building knowledge, skills, and resources. In closing, I'll add that we have a couple intake dates per year. And again, I'm your line level person. So if you have any questions at any time in the process, please contact me. Thank you.